Picture this. It's the 2007 Tokyo Motor Show. After 6 years of teasing the automotive world, Nissan finally releases the GT-R. It's beautiful, it's deadly, it's affordable, and it's completely unique in the market. Times are good, and the roads look even better. Now, fast forward to today, the GT-R has basically been forgotten about by the car community. It's no longer an affordable option, and due to a lack of updates and improvements in the competition, it's not as impressive as it used to be. What on earth happened to the GT-R? How could such a universally loved car fall off so drastically? Well, in this video, we'll explore all of the reasons why this legend became so lame, and you're gonna want to stick around until the end of the video because the sales figures of the GT-R that we'll show you will shock you. The Nissan GT-R had one of the most unprecedented rises to stardom that the automotive world has ever seen. I mean, as soon as this thing was released, thousands of people were on the phone to pre-order, and there were a few reasons for this. First things first, the 2007 GT-R was completely rebranded. The company did away with the Skyline tag, instead rebranding the GT-R as a competitive flagship that didn't hold anything back. The GT-R was also made available to markets outside of Japan, including Europe, Canada, and of course the States. This had never been done before and allowed a worldwide market to experience the thrill of Japanese engineering. And even more impressive than this was the price tag. The initial model came with a starting price tag of just $70,000. I mean, what other supercar could you get new for that kind of price? Ferrari? I don't think so. Lambo? Try again. Porsche? Maybe, but the model you'd be getting wouldn't be half as good as the GT-R. And for that price tag, you were getting unbelievable performance. The GT-R could get you to 60 miles per hour in under 4 seconds, and that very initial off-the-line acceleration was arguably the best in the world at the time. You could reach speeds of 194 miles per hour, cut through corners like it was nothing, and stop in a fraction of a second thanks to killer brakes. The tyres were full of nitrogen for increased performance. The V6 made a gorgeous sound, and it's not like Nissan skimped inside either. Sure, the interior wasn't the best quality in the world, but you could still fit 4 people in the cabin, albeit with some discomfort. And the Japanese infotainment system was awesome. You could analyze literally every metric of your car, listen to tunes with great quality, and sync with your phone with ease. The Nissan GT-R was also a bit of a unicorn in the supercar space. Before the GT-R, you kind of had 2 markets, American and European. Every American car kind of looks similar, and the same can be said about the European options, but the GT-R was different. It didn't look like anything else on the market because it didn't come from Europe or America. It was Japanese. The GT-R also became a top model for tuners. The GT-R platform was pretty perfect for anyone who wanted to turn a 500 horsepower engine into a 3,000 horsepower monster, and this scene only gave the GT-R more publicity, engineering respect, and subsequent popularity. The GT-R ultimately filled a huge gap in the market. It was affordable, fast, comfortable, well-equipped, and completely different from anything else that the European and American companies were offering. 2010 to 2015 became the golden years for the Nissan GT-R. Everyone wanted one. Every boy had a poster of one in his room. When you saw one on the road, your jaw would drop. At car meets, it was always the GT-R show, and every car-related TV show was featuring them. However, over the past few years, everything has changed. Suddenly, the GT-R isn't talked about anymore. You barely ever see them on the streets, and if you do, who even cares? The GT-R just isn't the A-list celebrity that it once was, and in our opinion, there are a few reasons for this. First of all, the price of the GT-R has slowly risen year on year, with a few exceptions. Now, a small rise in price is totally understandable. We know that companies have inflation and production cost rises to worry about. However, when we actually look at the numbers, it's hard to see what Nissan was thinking. In 2008, the GT-R cost just under $70,000. Just a year later, the price had risen to $76,840. Fast forward to 2017 and the price was $109,990. And in 2020, it was even worse, with the base model costing $113,540. Increasing the price like this has made the GT-R lose one of its most appealing qualities. At $70,000, it was a supercar the average person could easily attain. But today, it's just another vehicle with far too many zeros on the end for most people to justify. Plus, putting the cost up like that has raised the standard of the GTR's competition. When it cost $70,000, you genuinely couldn't get a better performing car for the price. Now, you have so many options. There's the 2023 Lotus Emira, the 2023 Chevrolet Corvette C8, and the 2008 AMG E63S, just to name a few. Another reason for the downfall of the GTR is the lack of updates that Nissan offered over the years. The saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But Nissan definitely took this a little too far, to their detriment. Every model felt exactly the same as the last, and no real meaningful changes have ever been made. I mean, today's model is still part of the 2009 generation. For a while, this was okay, because the GTR felt fresh, new, and exciting. But when you don't make any significant changes over 14 years, people are going to get bored of the same old story, and the competition is going to catch up. And that's exactly what happened. No one cares about the new model anymore, because it's anything but new. Competitors have also caught up. Look, you can even go to a Jaguar F-Type SVR and get a similar performance to the GTR nowadays. Imagine saying that 10 years ago, you'd be laughed out the room. The quality of the GTR is also worth talking about, and again, this all has to do with the price and the fact that Nissan has barely updated the GTR over the years. For a $70,000 car, the interior quality of the GTR was pretty good. You got enough infotainment, and the fact that the interior quality was just okay was fine because the performance made up for it. But for a car that costs over $100,000, the interior is very poor. You could go to a car that costs half the price and find a cabin made from better materials, with better infotainment and comfier seats. I think the sales figures speak better than I ever could about the GTR's decline, so let's take a closer look at them. In 2008, 1,730 people purchased a new GTR in the US, and the figures are pretty similar throughout 2009 to 2015, with a little bit of a drop-off. 2016, 698 sales. 2018, 538 sales. And 2020, just 301. These numbers speak for themselves and just show that the community is getting bored of Nissan just giving us the same model for 14 years, but charging us more. And it's just the same with the 2023 model. The price is even worse, starting at $115,435, and literally nothing has changed. What's even worse is that there's even a new Nismo trim level that will set you back $100,000 more. Yeah, you heard me right, $100,000. Looking into the future, there may be some hope, and I do say some. The 2024 model looks to have a better interior with new leather seats and Apple CarPlay integration, and potentially even better performance thanks to a 600 horsepower engine. But it's the same bad news with the price, which starts at an eye-watering $120,990. It gets even worse over the pond. As of April last year, the Nissan GTR was officially discontinued in Europe after 13 years of being in the market. Now, this discontinuation wasn't actually to do with the declining popularity of the GTR, so much as noise pollution regulations. However, there hasn't exactly been an outcry as a result of this, because people just don't care about the GTR anymore. And with Nissan having to pull the GTR out of one market, who's to say that they won't push the button for other markets too? We're probably a good few years away from the company ever doing something like that, but you've got to think that if sales figures keep going in the direction that they do, Nissan will take a long hard look at its baby and decide whether or not to keep nurturing it. Ultimately, the GTR has essentially lost all of the qualities that made it so appealing in the first place. We love the GTR because it was fast, great looking, and affordable. But in 2023, the GTR is only good looking, and even then, it's starting to look a little bland after 14 years. The GTR is a product of its own success. It's almost like the company didn't want to change anything out of fear of ruining it. But this is exactly why the GTR has fallen from grace. We need to see changes to be excited about new releases. And if you're going to market a car as an affordable option, maybe actually make it, affordable. What do you think about the GTR? Has it fallen from grace, or am I overreacting here? Let me know in the comments section below.